Okay, welcome everybody to today's NVL webinar. Good to see everybody coming in, and if we look on the map beside us, we've got a nice representation across mostly the northern Nordic area, all the way from Greenland right over to the island of Gotland in Sweden and Stockholm in the east. I don't think we've got the rest of Europe represented yet, but it's very Nordic focus. But we're doing it in English for the benefit of, I think this can be spread around Europe quite easily. My name's Alistair Creelman. I work at Linnaeus University in Kalmar in the southeast of Sweden, and I'm a member of the NVL Distance special network. And I was asked to introduce and take care of this webinar. And the webinar is focusing on an extremely exciting pedagogical theory and practice called biophilia, and we're going to hear quite a lot about how that works out, what's been done so far, and also about a conference that's coming up in Reykjavik in the summer. So yeah, we can see from the polls at the side that we've got a good spread. Quite a few of you use iPads, tablets in your teaching, but some of you don't. The knowledge of biophilia is, yeah, people are familiar. Most people, it's the first experience, so that's quite good, but some people are quite familiar with it. And we've got a good spread of different careers, vocational training. University is the most popular here, and other. So I'll move to another view, and here, the chat, just keep writing in the chat. You can put in links if you find something that's interesting. You can just put in a link and let us see it. You can, you're able to ask questions in the chat, and we'll try and deal with them. We'll try and stop the discussion quite often so that we can see what you're saying in the chat. But please keep active there. We don't let you have microphone and video contact here because we haven't got any chance to get your microphone settings correct, and sometimes it can cause a lot of technical difficulties if everybody's speaking at the same time. So chat is the way we communicate, and I'll be giving the word to my colleagues here, and we've got Kurver and Gudrun in over there in Reykjavik in Iceland at the University of Iceland, and I'll let them really introduce themselves. So over to you in Iceland.
Thank you, Alistair, and hi everybody, and welcome. We are sitting here very tightly together, myself and Kurver. We had some technical problems, but we solved them brilliantly by just sort of sitting very tightly.
We've been in tighter spots than this before.
Yeah, precisely. Well, I'm Gudrun Bachmann, and I am a science communicator at the University of Iceland. I have been sort of part of the group who has been developing the biophilia educational program for some years now.
My name is Kurver, and it's kind of I'm not really sure what my job name is or job description, but I've been working with Björk on this biophilia project since 2011, since it came here to Iceland, and we started to develop it further. I started out with working as a musical engineer on the album, and that led into me working with this educational thing. I've been teaching a lot of sound art and musical history and stuff like that. So this came together pretty well. And what I usually do, have been doing, is running the biophilia workshops with music teachers, science teachers, and taking care of the biophilia educational program workshops for Björk.
Okay, so I was gonna give you a bit of a background information on the project, focusing perhaps more on the university. I can see that there's a lot of university people there online. Alistair, my PowerPoints?
Yep, we'll move over to Gudrun's presentation, and she'll be talking for a short while, and then you'll get a chance to ask questions. So keep your fingers ready on the keyboard with questions and ideas. So we'll move over to the presentation. which will take
Thank
a
you very
second or
much.
two to
So,
load up. There we go. And you just change by pressing the buttons at the bottom. Over to you, Gudrun.
thank you. So just to very briefly explain what the Biophilia educational program is about, then it starts with this idea of sort of merging science and art and technology, and the concept is creation as an educational tool. It all starts with Björk, and we are sort of building on her methods and her ideas. First it was sort of part of her concerts. She was touring the world with her new
New album or
sorry,
project?
yeah, a new project, which was the first app album ever, and she wanted to sort of make this really hands-on and make it come alive and on another sort of
on the level,
yeah. So what she wanted to do was to start workshops for children, and she's tried to sort of put together a group of people who could realize this, and that's how the university started participating in the Biophilia program. Do I click?
Yes.
Just click on the arrow at the bottom of the screen there, bottom left, under your presentation.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
The university actually has a very, very sort of active program for young people because it's part of our strategy to raise young people's interest in science and in learning as a whole, and sort of open up the beautiful world of knowledge. So we have had a lot of programs going on earlier, which meant that we had quite a lot of skilled and trained people who were used to communicating sort of complex things in an interesting way, which everyone could understand more or less. We have the University of the Youth, which is a summer school for kids from age 12 to 16. We have what we have called the Mobile University, and is now called the Knowledge Train, and we tour Iceland with lots of fun stuff, and we are teaching and giving lectures, we give science festivals, etc. And the Knowledge Train is now becoming part of the whole Biophilia project in the Nordic countries. We have a science web, which is one of the top 15 webs in Iceland, very, very popular. So we are quite used to sort of these, turning university teaching into interesting stuff for young people. And then we started doing something that we had never ever done before, and that was sort of throwing our scientists into working with artists, musicians, teachers on all levels, and the wonderful team of Björk who was making these workshops. And Björk, of course, had been developing the apps for years with really, really clever people all over the world. And one of them you see here on the slide is Scott, which made the.
Yeah, he was the organizer of the team that of the app builders made the app. So Snip Studios was the ones that worked with. It was Björk's ideas, the concept of the app, but to coordinate the app builders, Scott Snippy was the kind of organizer and designer of that.
And they are taking a prize here, aren't they? For
the Webby Awards. yeah, Biophilia won the Webby Awards for that.
Okay, so this was quite an interesting and inspiring platform to start from with developing the workshops in Iceland, which I think we can say has been more or less the base for what's been going on after that. Karvi will tell you more about that, how we sort of developed the workshops, what's the main idea. It started in the Harpa Music Hall, where Björk was giving her concerts, and after that has been sort of touring the world and is now becoming Nordic. And it's covering all sorts of very, very interesting elements, which was like, you know, jumping into a toy box for the scientists of the University of Iceland, of course, but also quite interesting, I think, for all the others that joined for doing the workshops. Now I'm giving the word to Karver, which will tell you sort of about the process of the workshops.
Could we just take a second to see if there are any particular questions? We'll move over to the discussion and see, has anyone got anything they'd like to say just now, and just write in the chat quickly.
Anyone?
Takes time to write. Here we go.
Yes. 2 people writing. Looks like there's going to be long questions.
Any using to learn a new language?
Yeah, that's no. To answer the question of Pernilla Solander. Hi, Pernilla. The biophilia concept is taken from the biophilia concept of Björk's album or project, which kind of has the how can I say, us human beings are in the middle of a gateway from the microscopic to the microscopic to the
microcosmos.
Yeah, no. To the cosmic to the microcosmos. So we are Björk uses so she's seeing all the small things and the big things and how the world works and the physics and stuff like that. So it's very much science-based. But so she uses all these science and nature science things to kind of influence the songs and the lyrics. And then the apps have these nature science themes and then musical themes that we kind of incorporate into this science and music thing. What we have been doing here now, we are developing it further to kind of reach more artistic stations, but I think it will always try to keep it in the what we call rainbrenner, or like you know, the science part.
Yeah.
But it does connect to reading abilities, because technical reading of using iPads and technology, and so it does connect to that on a curricular level, but not really kind of have we tried, not yet, to use this to teach about language. But I'm pretty sure that the model could be used in that way. But for now, we want to focus on honing that, making that tool efficient on the musical science part.
Okay, maybe
I hope that answers the
we
question.
could maybe move on now and see, and maybe more questions will come, because you're going to explain a little bit more in detail what it's all about, Kerber. Shall I move to this presentation again?
We have what we have done, we've compiled a short video, well, not that short, it's actually 7 minutes, that explains pretty well the where it's been and where it's going. now it is a part of this Nordic Councils of Ministers, that's this NORDEN. So we have been we're trying to develop this and are developing this further from the workshop. So you'll see some bits from the workshop, some bits from the apps, and some kind of text explaining it, the basic concepts of the educational part of biophilia. So please check this out.
Okay, here we go. Video time.
Yes?
We have a little bit of lagging trouble here, but hopefully it'll work itself out.
Welcome to Biophilia, the love for nature in all her manifestations.
Sorry, I'm just paused it a minute. It seems to be lagging. Can't explain that. It's just one of these things that happens when you're live and doesn't happen when you're testing. Let's see if it behaves itself now.
An urge to investigate and discover the elusive places where we meet nature. Sound harnessed by human beings, delivered with generosity and emotion, is what we call music. And just as we use music to express parts of us that would otherwise be hidden.
Yep, I think we're what's happening is that we're using a lot of bandwidth for this, and video like this, when we're using also video feeds and voice and everything, it is a little bit much. The link to the film, or a shorter version, is already there, so that maybe we should take a little a few minutes break, go and watch it on your own computer, and we will continue. Yeah, it's one of these things that happens. I'll try and find out why, but it's better to do this than to hang around waiting for it to download.
But this is not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
People are already... Actually, Hold on,
we can
it
try to
does
find
work
it.
because it's downloading. It seems to have been sort of. It needs to be the little bar at the bottom should be ahead of the play tab, and it's already beginning to download.
Mhm. So there's a chance we can view it,
Okay.
because this is a brand new video. It's not.
Í svennilegum skóla þá erum við oftast bara að gera nákvæmlega sama, bara erfður og meðan hérna erum við að fara svona upp á eins og við erum að klifra upp á tind, ekki að fara á litlum skrefum upp á tind. En það er bara eitt stórt skref.
This app is called Mutual Core, and it's about taking the tectonic plates and pushing them together with effort and until you create a mutual core beneath them. In musicology-wise, this is to teach you about chords, and you can use actually the tectonic plates, the strata inside them, and it sort of operates like an accordion, so you can change the chords and push them together, and of course create again a mutual core.
So let's take a look at Mutual Core. We zoom into its constellation and then into its star, and now let's play it. So this app begins in song mode, and you can create these kind of playing chords that oppose against each other.
The crystals are formed, but they can also.
I think actually, Curver, you should try to explain yourself the rest of the film, and we can give people the link to watch later. I think that's a better solution. It's hacking all the time, and the recording won't be very good.
I've just added a link here. It's a Dropbox link, but people should be able to view it from there just after the presentation. It's just a small video to kind of, well, you've seen a little bit, so Björk explaining a little bit of the apps, and Scott Snippy explaining the app. But what we have been doing with the workshops or the educational program, it started out as when Björk was playing in all these different cities, she wanted to rather than to play one big show, she wanted to have a number of smaller shows, like a 1,000 people show, or that even less. And so she wanted to stay in the cities for a long time, which what we called residencies. So in Iceland, she stayed here for giving concerts for almost 4 or 5 weeks here. Every 3 days there was a concert. So at the same time, we were able to run these workshops with working with an educational program in every city. So we've done this it started out in Manchester, but then we hadn't really developed the educational program that well. Then it came here to Iceland, and working with the university and the city of Reykjavik, we were able to really develop the educational program much further. In parts of having the music teachers from the city of Reykjavik and science mediators and science teachers from the university to kind of put together a very, very, very good program that's very touches on a lot of different sides, both on science and music parts.
Can I perhaps show an example?
Yes.
Alistair. So if I can continue with the PowerPoints, and I can show you just a few examples. Perhaps you saw earlier what you did see of the video. When Björk was explaining, she was starting to explain an app called Mutual Core. And that is about, that is related to earth sciences, actually to the tectonical plates. And it's a very good example of the way that she is sort of finding similarities between forces of nature, musicology, and just also human feelings. And because someone earlier was asking if this would only be related to natural sciences, I think that it definitely does not have to be. It's just that now it's built on something very tangible, like these sort of sciences are, but just using the theme of similarities in our surroundings and our feelings, and then something that you are learning is a way of doing this, and doing it sort of very cross-sector. Take away the walls between fields, between state and city, universities and elementary schools, different subjects and fields and schools. That's more or less the sort of basic idea. So just to show you an example, if we have a look at just the lyrics of the songs, which of course are in English now, but can be in any language, then you find a lot of interesting things that you can then use as in the teaching. So inside the science part, of course, we can teach him everything about the plates and how it moves, because it has so much to do with Iceland, of course. It has to do with all the world, actually. And the similarities in the musicology is that it's about the
chords. Yeah.
It's about the chords, and perhaps you saw that the kids are like playing an accordion. And accordion is, of course, very similar to the keyboard of a piano.
Mm-hmm. And the app on the musical app, the Mutual Core app, has these kind of chords made out of the layers of the earth, the spheres, and then it connects the chords and the tectonic plates.
Yes, precisely. And like in her text, she can sort of, in her very special poetic way, also sort of make the similarities about as fast as your fingernails grow, the Atlantic ridge drifts to counteract distances. And
the song is actually a love song, so that it's kind of a genius way to have this kind of tectonic plate action being a metaphor for a relationship, come together and growing apart. Stuff like that. So of course it can be language. This model could be used on language levels.
Yes, it can be used on any level. So this is sort of to demonstrate the beautiful scientific side and the possibilities of sort of building on the apps. And here we come to sort of what came after the workshops, and that was the big step of making it into a program that we piloted into the elementary schools in Reykjavik, some schools, and what we did was that we made a toolkit, and this toolkit is now sort of perhaps the main base for making the program go Nordic, because they will travel also to all the Nordic countries after the Nordic countries have taken a very active part in developing the program further. Right. So from Iceland, it's now going to other Nordic countries, and there we are gathering new ideas. So at the end of this year, the program will not only be our program, but it will be a whole Nordic
samarbete.
Yeah, samarbete.
The collaboration of teaching and science teachers and musical teachers to develop this form further, and I will go into it later a little bit, talking about how the workshops are and how the teaching training is now. So, but this has grown from this idea of Björk to do a very tangible program, teaching program that's very puts two different things together in a way. Like the music teaching and the science teaching are usually not taught together, but there are definitely benefits of merging them together and using this, like we like to use this phrase, creativity as a learning tool, and to kind of create something and learning at the same time, not in the same realm. So we're creating music but learning about science. So this cross-sector is a huge thing in this.
Okay, so the toolkit, here's a bit about the toolkit as it looks today, but it might turn into something completely different after all the creative people have met that will be working on this in our Nordic year. Yes, so there might be some questions now.
Yeah, some questions now. And
I can see that there's interest from, I mean, I have several colleagues in adult learning and that are online at the moment. Hilde and Pernilla there. Any experience with adult learning here?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we did run a very intensive 2 weeks at the Icelandic Art University or Icelandic Art Academy, that we did use the same things. We used the themes of the Biophilia songs. Like we have mentioned, like Mutual Core deals with tectonic plates. One called Thunderbolt talks about lightnings and electric charts and arpeggios. And so what we did with there is a course in the Art Academy that has all the different departments of the art school working together for 2 weeks. So we had the music part, we had the sculptures, the painters, the graphic designers, all the different parts of the Art Academy coming together under the concept of biophilia, and we did so it could be used. We did it was really amazing how all the school was working together. But I'm not sure what you mean with in adult learning. If that is at university, I would think that is quite adult, but it's not higher than that. But of course, we had to change it. We didn't really work with the apps on that one. We rather worked with the theory or the concept of biophilia.
Yeah, because the program is very adaptable. It's adaptable sort of for.
Yeah, conceptually it's adaptable.
Very adaptable.
But the app itself, the app on the iPad, that's only one of the tools of this program, and I would say that that's more kind of based around the kids or
yeah, I mean, the adult learning I think is maybe for people in secondary education as adults rather than university level.
Yeah, it's the app wouldn't do for that, but the concept was definitely usable to have a huge art academy going into all these cross sections and breaking down in small quantities the little bits, what we're learning about, and everybody learned a lot about science and also created a lot of things, artistic things, which was inspired by science. And that's in a super basic form. That's what biophilia is. It's art inspired by science.
I really want to add to this that myself as a science communicator, by doing it this way, learning from such many different angles and getting really involved, it was like really going deep into things without having to read about them or I didn't really have to understand anything. It was just like, learning with all your senses. And I must admit that I learned a lot of new things, both about music and natural sciences, going through this program. Took me a while, but then I'm not very young. But I was amazed how much you can learn with when you go out of your
Yes, I urge
zone.
you to watch the films that are available on the site and so on, because you can see how the children are working and very incredibly active. And there was that boy in the film that we managed to see who was saying that it was so different from normal classes. That was quite fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like walking up to a mountain, except not walking in many little steps, just with one huge giant step.
Then you're on the top.
and we had a lot of also, enjoyable side effects from this project. It's like there was kids, there was 3 girls in a school that started a band immediately after this workshop, and I've heard there was 2 guys in Oslo that also didn't know each other before starting the workshops, and they started a kind of a band and started to be best friends from two different parts of Oslo. So creativity kind of really is I think the key here to kind of turn on the brain, and then we can feed it with a lot of information and knowledge, and knowledge doesn't have to come straight from the books. It's also, like Gunnar said, like it's from experience.
The question here,
so,
who have you got any plans in what was going to happen in Sweden? Pernilla's wondering who's going to be trying it in Sweden. Has anything happened over here, and in what areas?
Mm-hmm. So what we are doing this year is that we are gathering specialists from all these Nordic countries. We have been after a huge run, like, how can I say? Well, Björk did tour the whole world for 2.5 or 3 years, going from Reykjavik, Buenos Aires, Paris, Los Angeles, New York, all over the place, and we got, and that was developed from the Icelandic Reykjavik that workshop, and then running the workshops in the schools here in Reykjavik, there's the toolbox going to all the kids schools here from 10 to 12-year-old kids, and now what we've been doing is gathering this information together and then working with specialists from the Nordic countries to kind of focus it a little bit more, take together these informations and honing it more. So, and then it will run in 2015 after this kind of focus points with the professionals. We will run these what's called these toolboxes and workshops and the knowledge train in the other Nordic countries. So now we don't know, we don't have pinned down the who's working with us in Sweden in the actual practicality in 2015. But the specialists are what we're working with right now.
It's going to be a big network of regions, and there's going to be a lot of specialists involved. But there are actually the ministries in each country who decides how this is really done at the end. And we are now on the stage that we are we're just starting to get in information about the regions and getting people sort of ideas about who could possibly join us.
And then of course we'll have this summer, what's called.
Yeah, I put the link of the conference into the chat there for people who are interested. Though of course it's in Scandinavian, so that it's not in English.
Should we perhaps now have just a quick look on how the workshops will be at the big conference?
Oh, sorry.
Perhaps it's good to have just a picture. Yeah, we are the best. Just so that to give people a feeling of how these workshops are built, how we plan them. Then it's like we take one of the apps, which is one of the natural elements, and we start, most of the time, we start the workshop with the scientists. But before the workshop starts, of course, the scientists and the music teachers and other teachers have sort of combined their ideas and forces. But first, in the beginning, there is a short science version, which is we try to have as much hands-on as possible. And it's related to, as I showed you earlier, like with the Platonic plates, it's very closely related to what's in the app. Then the music teacher takes over, and he builds on what the scientist has said and what's in the app, and puts in the musical part of the app. Then, after that has been done, there is a brief teaching on using the app, right?
Yes.
And perhaps you will take over now.
So then what we have been doing here is working with the teachers. We've been running these kind of teachers training courses, because it's all pretty new. Like we have the iPads are pretty new in schools, but they've been growing incredibly fast. So since we started in Harpa Music Hall, it was such a huge deal to get 15 iPads into the school system. Now a lot of schools here have like 60 of them and stuff like that, and using them in a very creative way. But it takes in the teachers training course, we go over the concept of the biophilia, where we are going with it, and then we use. We teach the teachers also how to use the iPads in a creative way, and they are very helpful tools, because the biophilia program, the project, doesn't really call for just the biophilia apps, the app album, this one. We don't have to just use this one. We can also use other apps which are kind of connected to the themes, like for the moon song, we use another tool there, that shows very well the phases of the moon, the lunar cycle, and so it's not totally bound to the app itself, and we also urge teachers to kind of try to figure out their own ways to come to the themes, but under the concept of biophilia. And it takes a little while to kind of get into the concept and the practical using of the iPads and the toolbox. And in the toolbox, we also have other things. It's filled with, you know, the iPads. There's like 20 iPads in a flight case. Then we have teachers, teaching ideas. We also have lectures from the University of Iceland that's more intended for the teacher itself.
But
yes.
in the conference workshops,
yes.
they will have the scientists alive.
Yeah,
they will
live
not,
version.
the live version of
the
scientists
teaching about the things, because it's heavy, like with dark matter. You know, that's a heavy thing to understand, to be able to you know, to explain to the kids. You know, so we have all these kind of different ways to go around to.
So at the conference workshops, we will have scientists, and we will have music teachers, and people will be playing.
Yes.
So then you will start your own creation.
Mm-hmm. And then we go over how to run a kind of workshop or a class-based you know, modules. You know, how and there's different modules. You know, you can incorporate the whole school, all the kids together, or you can break it into smaller parts as well. I hope that answers some of the questions with that one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a question here. I saw it used with preschool children in Children's Museum of Manhattan and teenagers in an after-school program at New York Public Library. Can it be adapted to different age groups? Yes, it can. Our main target has been kids from 10 to 12-year-old, but we have done it with for teenagers, and totally works well with that.
We've done it with families.
Families,
also.
yeah, and
it's a very nice thing for families also, because it's like, you know, solving things together is a very nice way of learning.
And then the Art University kids, but the Children's Museum of Manhattan, they actually we did meetings, and when they got the Biophilia Concept, and we had gone over that kind of teachers training with them, they developed their own for very young children, and I think it was maybe a little bit too young but they liked it very much, and it was kind of more family oriented. The people brought in their maybe 6-year-olds and stuff like that, so it couldn't really be really heavy on the dark matter side there, you know. But it can be adapted, because it's a concept of trying to fuse together two ways of teaching, two subjects at the same time.
And we should not underestimate that really young kids today are so advanced in using, like they get an iPad and they start immediately. It's amazing. When they see a screen, they always think that it's interactive, because that's how iPads work.
Okay. Do you want to, Curver, you were going, do you want to demonstrate, if I make the video the video window bigger, is that going to be that difficult? Yeah.
Yeah, to show a little bit of the app, or what? Yeah, so I can just show you. So this is the, if I do like this, I hope there's not too much glare, but this is the Biophilia app, and here is a kind of the mother app that kind of has this kind of like a galaxy of sorts, and what I'm doing here is I'm navigating through this galaxy until I find the stars. I don't think you can see the colors here, but here is a reddish star. I go more into it, and then I actually go closer to this song here, Thunderbolt, and all of the apps have these kind of different parts in it. It's always have an animation, score, lyrics, and credits, but when I press play, I'm able to play the app, and this is the one that's connected to thunders and lightnings. So what I can do is draw here, and then I can also make these kind of I'm going to say these electric points, but if I use 2 fingers, it makes a line that plays an arpeggio line, and I can make it faster by going up. I can make it slower by going down. And if I go, it has higher pitch, lower pitch, and a longer spectrum. It's like a longer arpeggio line. I can also use three fingers and 4. So now it's jumping in, and 5 is the maximum. Oops. All right. And yes. And so, and I can also, this was in an instrument mode. I can also go into a song mode that has actually the original song, Björk singing, and the organ playing beneath it. But whenever I move the arpeggio, it always fits the song, because it's the arpeggios are connected to the chords of the song. And before the kids go into this, they have learned about how a lightning is formed, and how how arpeggio works in music. So this is just like a and all these kind of, oops. It's so what happens is the kids get a kind of, after learning about the music part and the science part, they have a very tangible thing here, the iPad, which is kind of a magical about the iPad. It's so high tech, it gets organic again, and we've been seeing kids really kind of going into this really well. Here's another one about viruses, and so I can say. So here are these kind of cells, and they can be played as an instrument. And then we have these little green viruses coming in, and they're actually bells as well. And this is so by this time the kids have learned about how viruses go into the cells, and in the song mode it actually, there's a little game, and the viruses go into the cells and multiply. So I don't know, it's just to show you little bits of it. And it has 10 songs of the album, so it's like 10 apps combined into this. Maybe I should show you just one more, because I was talking about moon. Here is a very interesting song about that you're able to clearly make your own song by turning on these moons here and having like a full moon is a full sequencer going all the way down. But if I do a half one, it's a shorter sequence, and I can go all the way here to just a very short sequence. And then I can save this when I have a sequencer line that I like. Then I can save it in one of these points and load it up later. So this is just one part that kind of just helps kids and students to combine what we have learned before from the science part about the moon and the lunar phases, and then about sequences and sequencers. So it's a lot of other things connected to it. It's not just the app. The app is just kind of like a middle point, or the kind of the grain of sand for the pearl, and then the teaching method is what goes around it. So that's
our
the main part.
Time is just about up, so really it's if there are more questions, just before we sort of wrap up, I'll let Kurva and Gudrun finish off in a minute, but if you've got any more questions or ideas, put them in the chat. We'll round off in a minute or two. I'll stop the recording, but we'll stay online for a little bit. You're welcome to chat a little bit. And I thought I might try and play the film again, and then we can maybe see if it works. If you can hang on, we'll see if it works without any hiccups this time. So anyway, if you could just round off quickly, and if there's any other comments come up down there, then you can answer them.
Okay, I hope that we will see as many of you as possible at the conference this summer, and see you enjoying the workshops. And we are hoping that the biophilia educational program will mean something new for the educational system. And of course, we all want our young people to be really sort of spirited and innovative in their lives. So we hope that this will add to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, check out the conference, and hope we can run the video for you. It just shows you a little bit bits and pieces. It's been very nice being here with you. We had some technical difficulties, but that's all right. It's a lot of fun, and just like we say, it's the concept of the biophilia is to kind of merge together these different forms of teaching in a new kind of very active, interactive teaching way with the kids, which can be going across age groups and also these kind of different fields, you know, by breaking it up in a different, in a special manner. So I'm not really. I hope it gives you a little bit of good view of what we're doing here, but of course we don't go much deeper into it.
Okay, I'll
Thank you.
finish the recording. Thanks very much. There's a link to just click on the PowerPoint picture there about the conference, and you go straight to the website. So I'll stop the recording.